for survivors continues in Iowa after a deadly tornado Tuesday. Officials have not given a death toll but have confirmed multiple fatalities. Hundreds of first responders from across the state are in and around the small city of Greenfield, searching homes and businesses now reduced to rubble.
We're a small community, we're a tough community. We will rebuild this community together.
19 families of the students and teachers killed during the Uvalde school shooting announced a lawsuit against 92 officers involved in the police response. The group also announced Wednesday they have settled a lawsuit with the city for $2 million. The announcement comes days before the 2-year mark of the mass shooting. 19 students and 2 teachers died in the attack. And nearly 44 million people are expected to travel over the Memorial Day weekend this year, the busiest in almost 20 years. 38 million people expected to travel by car. An estimated 3.5 million people will travel through airports.
This will be another test. We are seeing extraordinary numbers. Of course, that's a good sign economically, but a real challenge in terms of keeping up.
Those are your headlines. Let's go ahead and take a look at your weather on the ones.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. For Thursday, we have more storms to keep track of. We'll start off Thursday morning with storms moving across Kentucky and up into the northeast, as well as another system coming across the west. And that's what's going to trigger some storms forming once again for the plains for our Thursday. So there's a slight to enhanced risk for some severe weather in those areas. Now, overnight lows look like this: 60s in Topeka, St. Louis, Columbus, 60s in Boston, and another warm day up in Boston with temperatures in the 80s.
For joining us, I'm Sharon Tazwell. Millions from Texas to Vermont under risk of severe weather with strong winds, hail, and tornadoes possible. It comes as search and rescue efforts continue in Iowa after a deadly tornado slammed the state Tuesday. At least one person was killed, but officials worry that number could rise. Spectrum's Ariel Wessler has a look at some of the devastation many are coming to grips with.
That's the tornado you're seeing on the ground, folks. It's a pretty violent looking one.
Violent and powerful, carving a deadly and devastating path through the small city of Greenfield, Iowa.
I heard like a train, and then insulation came from the basement, and I knew it was hitting.
As many survivors take stock of what's left, the loss for some families is even greater.
Sadly, we can confirm that there have been fatalities with this tornado.
While search and rescue efforts continue, officials are hesitant to release a death toll.
We wouldn't want to give out a wrong number, and we're still assessing.
The governor says a local hospital is one of the buildings damaged. An area school and a lumber yard are now among sites being used as improvised medical staging areas, and volunteers, in some cases, transporting the injured.
Everybody became little makeshift ambulances. We pulled a guy from the rubble and put him on a little makeshift stretcher that we made, threw him in the back of a truck.
The governor has issued a disaster proclamation for 15 counties and will apply for federal assistance.
We will be putting forth an expedited presidential declaration. We're hoping by no later than tomorrow.
We're a small community, we're a tough community. We will rebuild this community together.
While Iowa focuses on storm recovery, millions of people along a 1,500-mile stretch between Texas and Vermont are watching out for tornado alerts, damaging hail, and high winds through the evening. Ariel Wessler, Spectrum News.
Spectrum meteorologist Robert Santos joins us now. Robert, time out this latest round of severe weather for us.
Okay, Sharon, yes, we are most concerned about the early evening hours. Now, let me show you where we're seeing a line of storms. Let's say 6 to 9 o'clock Central Time. You'll see this line moving across from Texas to Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas included here. And this is the cluster of storms that we're most concerned about. Now, as we go throughout the rest of the evening into after midnight hours, we're looking at those storms fizzling out. Then, come Thursday morning, we'll be watching for some storms forming across Kentucky. Now, keep in mind Thursday morning, the slight to enhanced threat of severe weather will fall once again across the plains. Many of these areas have already been hit hard with excessive rainfall and severe storms. Sharon?
All right, Robert Santos in Southern California. Thanks. Families of 19 of the victims in the Uvalde Elementary School shooting in Texas have filed a lawsuit against nearly 100 state police officers who were part of the botched response. The families announced the lawsuit Tuesday. They also agreed to a $2 million settlement with the city, under which leaders promised higher standards and better training for local police. It is the latest lawsuit seeking accountability after 19 students and 2 teachers were killed in the attack.
There will be lawsuits forthcoming, most immediately against the state of Texas, which has done nothing at all but burden this town before the shooting by not giving them the resources they need, prevented these families from getting the information they need, and then blaming this city.
More than 370 federal, state, and local officers responded to the scene, but waited more than 70 minutes before confronting the shooter. It is the first lawsuit to come after a 600-page Justice Department report found cascading failures in training, communication, and leadership problems that day. Turning to the Middle East, members of Congress from both parties are blasting 3 European countries, announcing they're moving forward with plans to formally recognize a Palestinian state. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the move, calling it a reward for terror. Spectrum's Evan Kozlov is in Washington with more.
Por paz, por justicia y por coherencia.
The president of Spain joining Norway and Ireland in announcing that they will formally recognize Palestine as a country later this month. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calling this decision by 3 U.S. allies a, quote, reward for terrorism.
Ireland, Norway, and Spain are telling Hamas in a loud and clear voice that the October 7th massacre pays off.
This as the backlash continues to grow on Capitol Hill against the International Criminal Court after its chief prosecutor announced on Monday that he was seeking arrest warrants for Netanyahu and other key Israeli officials, along with similar warrants for the leaders of Hamas.
America should punish the ICC.
Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson said on Wednesday that he plans to invite Netanyahu to Capitol Hill and that they're now considering, quote, aggressive legislation to sanction the ICC.
I think we need to send a strong message to the world that this is completely, wildly inappropriate and we're not going to stand for it.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military continues operations across Gaza, including in Jabalia in the north and Rafah in the south, where more than 1 million Palestinians had sought refuge.
What we have seen so far in terms of Israel's military operations in that area has been more targeted and limited, has not involved.
Kozlov joins us from Washington. Evan, humanitarian conditions in Gaza remain dire, and the U.S. built a massive floating pier to help. But now there are concerns about the aid not getting to the people who need it fast enough. How is the White House responding to this?
Right at the White House, we heard from Jake Sullivan, that's Biden's national security advisor, and he conceded that the process is moving slower than they would like, but he says it's working. Let's give some background on this pier. It cost them $320 million to build, and the goal here, they say, was to bring some 500 tons of aid per day. As of Tuesday, about 600 tons of aid has gotten from the pier to Gaza's shore, but here's the issue. They've had trouble finding safe delivery routes. That's why the U.S. is now working with Israel and the UN to find safer routes. There are huge stakes here, Sharon. The UN says nearly half the population is facing a catastrophic level of hunger.
Oh, catastrophic. 100 days away from the presidential election. Just head on today's Political Buzz. How the candidates are navigating the political climate and some key issues.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
I never graduated from high school. I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
With the highest threat for severe weather across the southern plains for Wednesday night. You could see it right here. And then Thursday, things will start to change. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. We'll see where that enhanced threat now moves into. We're talking about basically the northern to southern plains. We see a slight winds and even some large hail could fall in those areas, especially where it is where there is an enhanced risk. Now, taking a look at the storms Thursday morning, you could see them coming across Kentucky and all the way out into the northeast. We've got some scattered showers as well. Here's Thursday, 4 p.m. So this is Eastern time, and we have storms moving across the Carolinas. They'll be scattered, but some of those storms certainly can be severe. Then, as we go throughout the evening, another wave coming across the west will send some impulses of severe storms scattered throughout the plains once again, and that will continue to move across the area here for Friday right around noon. Kentucky getting more of that. Illinois, Missouri, more storms coming across for your Friday. So it will be stormy, and you could see we've got pockets of that throughout the eastern half of the country as, again, more energy coming from those storms from the west. So Friday, it will be a marginal threat for severe weather there. So a little look at temperatures here and how things will change over the next 3 days. Syracuse, New York, I've got it dry for you Thursday, Friday, but Saturday rain with 82 degrees. Lexington, Kentucky, thunderstorm chances. Some of them could be evening thunderstorms, and we're looking at 75 degrees Thursday, Friday 80, and then drier for you on your Saturday. Getting ready to dive into a long holiday weekend for many. Charlotte, North Carolina, all 80s for you over the next 3. Your driest days here will be Friday and Saturday with some chances for showers as well on Thursday. Dallas, Fort Worth, same thing there, but you do start to heat up once those showers or the chances for storms move out. 90s Friday, Saturday.
With the holiday weekend right around the help control prices at the pump could not have come at a better time for consumers. Joining us now for a look at all the political buzz is Alex Cohen. Alex, no doubt that high gas prices annoy people. How do you think this move will affect the president politically?
Well, look, we've known for quite some time that President Biden is facing this situation where there are plenty of good economic indicators, and yet Americans don't have the good vibes about the economy because so many things, the cost of living, food, housing, and gas cost so much. And so this seems like a very smart, strategic move to try to open up those gas pipelines, bring prices down here at the beginning of summer, heading into the Memorial Day weekend. I think, the big questions to ask are, how much will people remember that by the time they're casting their ballots in November? And, even with lower gas price, house, so in the big picture, will this be enough?
Yeah, very good point there. So, Alex, abortion, as we know, a big topic as we move closer to the critical November election. Former President Donald Trump now walking back some comments he made about birth control and contraception.
Yes, this was during an appearance on a TV show in Pennsylvania. He was asked if he would consider putting restrictions on contraception, and he said he was working on a policy. It would be out shortly. And of course, the Biden campaign and plenty of others really seized on that moment. That created concern, and now Donald Trump is saying that actually he thinks this should be something decided on the state level, not on the federal level. This is something we've seen time and time again. The former president trying to have it both ways on this very sensitive issue, which may not be some.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley says she'll be voting for Donald Trump. Haley told a crowd in Washington Wednesday, but encouraged the former president to work hard to win over support of her backers. She says while Trump had his shortcomings on foreign policy, President Biden's policy has been a catastrophe. Police officers are vital to a city's safety and protection, but more often than not, most kids do not know their local men and women in blue. Now in Kentucky, that could change. Spectrum's Aaron Dickens has more on a new mentorship program that will help kids get to know their local law enforcement.
It's a gym known for tough, rigorous workouts. But in the coming months, Igos Boxing and Fitness Center could be teaching more than sports by starting their own police mentoring program.
We want to have a relationship with our citizens, and not just a normal hello, how you doing, but a trusting relationship where we can interact with each other and work together to solve problems in our community.
The programs with off-duty police officers. The officers would also pass along encouraging lessons to the kids, like the art of discipline and consistency.
That way they see them as someone who's trying to help them, not an adversary, but somebody who's actually trying to help them be better and do better.
Having an outlet like this could save lives, and especially, police are meant to save lives. They're here to protect us, and I think that will allow to break down those walls, so form better relationships for law enforcement.
The idea stems from a movie that is going to be filmed in Kentucky called This Field Looks Green to Me, which we told you about earlier this year. The movie is about an integrated Little League baseball team during segregated times in 1953 and 54. and how the coaches changed the lives of the young kids.
This movie is about relationships.
Which is something Richmond, after learning about Igos Jen's passion of bettering people both inside and outside the rink.
That's the whole theme here between the movie and what we can do today as people in our communities, in engaging kids and getting to know kids, understanding what they go through, what their lives are like, what their family lives are like.
According to Howard Bailey, the co-producer of the film, the mentoring at the gym is sort of a parallel to the mentoring the Little League kids had.
They're learning commitment to themselves, discipline. This is the kind of program that we need nationwide.
Organizers hope this program inspires other communities to follow suit.
Any positive role model that we can give to them is going to be a life-changing for these kids.
And I think it starts with the...
In Richmond, Aaron Dickens, Spectrum News.
Mission accomplished. How an NFL rookie is fulfilling a lifelong dream on today's Beyond the Sport. Just ahead, right here on Spectrum News.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2,
3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
For how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Severe storms continuing to move to the east. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. So for the overnight hours into Thursday, we'll be watching storms shifting into the southern plains. Heat will continue for the deep south and the northeast. And for the deep south, we're adding the humidity as well into that mix. In the meantime, by cloudy weather for the west coast. So that's a place to visit over the Memorial Day weekend if you want to cool down. In fact, let's take a look at some of the temperatures there. So along the coast of the west there, the west coast, you're seeing below average temperatures, especially across Southern California. Right around the southwest, including Phoenix and Las Vegas, right close to average. Where we're above average, you can see still down south, but especially up here in the northeast. Boston there about 16 degrees warmer average. This is what we're forecasting for Thursday, 82 degrees there. So warm across New York and Columbus and Milwaukee. In the meantime, in Vegas and Phoenix, we're talking about 90-degree temperatures. It's pretty typical for this time of year, but that's where the dry heat is. You add in the humidity, though, in places like Texas, so these 90s for Thursday will feel more like triple digits. So once again, not a day to be doing anything outdoors. But yeah, we're feeling those above average temperatures here. You could, in Boston, as I mentioned, 82, but all across Massachusetts and still even warm across Monroe and Waterbury and Providence and a little farther north across Maine as well, Portland, Augusta, Bangor. Temperatures, yeah, warmer than average at a time when there are not a whole lot of full-time lifeguards yet. So if you're going anywhere near the beaches, just keep in mind you have to be extra careful. There will be a few more lifeguards from what I'm understanding here because of the Memorial Day weekend, but certainly not up to full-time staffing. Boston, Massachusetts, look over the next 7 days. 68 is the average, so there you go. When do you start to cool down into closer to average temperatures? Monday, Memorial Day. It'll be a lot more comfortable for any memorial services that you have planned. San Antonio, Texas here, 88 degrees is the average. And notice how we will have triple digits going into the average as well. Warmer day on Friday and Sunday with 80s there, and a little cooler next week. Columbus, Ohio, we've got 3 days of 80s, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
The NFL season kicks off in just a few months, and with the new season come new players. Spectrum News anchor Marilyn Melendez introduces us to a rookie who will get a chance to fulfill his lifelong dream in this week's Beyond the Sport.
With the NFL draft and now the NFL schedule release in the books, the hype dies down for a bit in the football world. But for the players getting the chance to make the roster, well, things are just now ramping up. For Western New Yorker Joe Andreessen, his dream was always to play for the Buffalo Bills. While he wasn't drafted, he is living out that dream, signing with the Bills as an undrafted free agent. Andy Young has the story.
For Joe Andreessen, his football dreams have come full circle. The linebacker from the University at Buffalo and Lancaster High School signed with the Bills on Saturday after a tryout at rookie minicamp.
It's amazing, everything I've dreamed of, and I can just see the culture and see why they've been so successful the past couple of years. A little surreal, just being in there, kind of seeing a lot of names I've seen growing up, and it was just a cool feeling overall.
We first told you about Andreessen's story last month while he prepared for the NFL draft. An all-state high school standout, Andreessen became an FCS All-American at Bryant University before transferring back home to UB and a higher level of competition last year. All he did was lead the Bulls in tackles and before signing with the Bills as an undrafted free agent.
I mean, it's definitely tough. I think you kind of want to be signed, but, I'm used to it and I'm trying to make the team.
Andreessen said before the draft the Bills were one of the teams that had shown constant interest. The scouts and coaches clearly see something in Andreessen's talent and mental makeup. A strong showing at rookie minicamp, enough to give him a deal to prove it through the spring and summer.
I think just see how you learn, see what kind of person you are overall, and then obviously the performance on the field. For me, I'm just trying to play fast, learn the defense, and just put my best foot forward.
And he doesn't have to step far from his own backyard to do it. Andy Young, Spectrum News.
The Bills open their season in Buffalo against the Arizona Cardinals September 8th. A few other standouts announced with the schedule release. AFC rivals Kansas City and Baltimore kick things off against the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil on September 6th. It will be the NFL's first international game in South America. For Spectrum News, I'm Mary Lee Melendez.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News at 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live on your smart TV and connected devices, plus on-demand weather forecasts. Spectrum News Plus, local stories connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of...
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.